How long does it take to build a home here in Georgia?
So in this video, we're going to break down the timelines to expect on each stage of the build process and also point out some areas where you can make up time as well as areas to expect delays.
So first things first, you have to actually get the contract signed. And this is actually the first place that you as the buyer can even start to lose some time, because we have some buyers that they come through and they will go under contract immediately upon receiving their contract. We've also had buyers in the past that they'll take up to 2 weeks in order to get a signed contract back into the builder along with their deposit. So you can lose a little bit of time here. The design period is 30 days. However, after the first design center visit, you will then have all of the necessary selections for the builder to start going vertical.
Yeah, once the exterior selections are made at that first design appointment, that then allows the construction team to go to that municipality and apply for our building permit. So the building permit timeline can vary from municipalities, but here in Cherokee County right now, we're sitting at around a 3-week permitting stage. So as soon as we get that permit, we're able to start construction on your lot as we jump into the first stage of the building process of clearing and grading your lot. So now that you've completed your exterior designs, that allows the construction team to get started going vertical on your lot. This is going to be some of the most weather dependent stages of that build, so you're really going to have to pay attention to your scheduling when you're going through this phase. A week of rain could put you back 2 weeks as you have to let that lot dry out. But on a normal period of time, if you're looking at a half-acre lot that's already been cleared of the big timber, you're looking at 2 to 3 days just to get that lot cleared and graded, depending on if it's a basement or a slab. On a slab lot, if you're given a nice flat slab lot, you might be able to get that done in a day. But if you're looking at a bigger basement lot like what we're standing on here, it's going to take you a day, 2, maybe even 3 days to dig that basement out properly so the foundation company could come in and start laying their footers. So now that you've dug out your basement or graded your slab, you're going to jump straight into your foundation. So whether you're on a basement and you're starting with your footers, or if you're on a slab and you're starting with your footers, you're going to want to add an extra probably 2 weeks to your schedule if you're on a basement, as you have to let your walls cure so you can waterproof them and then backfill before you start the rest of the process. If you're on a slab, you're looking at 1 to 2 days to let that slab cure before you can drop your framing package. Say we're talking about a 4,500 square foot basement like we have here behind me out at Sterlington. You're going to want to allow probably 10 to 15 days for a quality frame job on that house before you actually deck your roof and move into the weatherproofing process. This is one of the most quality processes that needs to go into your home, as this is actually the shell that is going to surround your entire home as you start finishing it. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. Try not to rush through this. So as you work through your framing, allowing that time slot of around 10 to 15 days depending on the size of the home, you're now going to jump into the weatherproofing process of your home. That's going to include your roof install, your doors and windows, and your house wrap or your weather barrier that you choose to use on your home. This is another key process in ensuring your home is built tightly and quality. So don't skip the days that it takes in order to get your windows, your doors, and your roof installed properly. Another big thing to keep in mind at this stage is your windows and doors. Windows and doors are one of the biggest delay items in the construction industry still to this day. So make sure you order your windows and doors accordingly based on what the supplier has told you that how long that is going to take. We typically here at SR order our windows as soon as we start grading on that lot, just to allow time for those windows to be manufactured and delivered in a quality time. That way it doesn't throw off our schedule. After you jump into your weatherproofing process, you're going to jump into your mechanicals as soon as you get your house dried in. So now that you've dried in your home with your shingles, your windows, your doors, and your house wrap, you're going to start your mechanical phase of your build. So what that's going to include is that's going to include all your roughs. So your rough electrical, your rough plumbing, your rough HVAC, your gas lines, your low voltage. You're going to want to run through those stages of your build. You're going to want to give each one of those trades 2 to 3 days in order to come in and do a quality job on this build. So you're looking at roughly 2.5 weeks in order to go through the rough process. You can overlap some of those subs. We here at SR like to give actually each sub their own accoladed time in that house. That way they do a quality job. They don't have any distractions. They don't run into anybody, but you can overlap certain subs if that is what you want to do. In addition to your rough mechanicals, a big thing that gets overlooked in the construction process is your underground power and your underground gas. So in addition to your mechanical inspections, you're going to have what's called a TPR inspection for your power. That is your temp to perm inspection. So what that's going to do is that's going to be where your municipality comes out and inspects your meter base, as well as 1 breaker and 1 GFCI outlet in your garage, to then allow that local power company to come out and install your underground power. That can be a huge delay in the building process if this is not done at a timely manner. So please make sure you keep that in mind when you're going through your mechanical process, that you call in your TPR inspection and submit your request to your local power company in a timely manner. Now that that's done, you need to call in your siding guys or your masonry contractors. So once your masonry contractors or your siding company comes in and completes the shell of the outside of the home, you are now ready to jump into your rough inspections. So I would give yourself 2 to 3 days for rough inspections with the mindset that they may find 1 or 2 little things that you need to get fixed before you can actually jump onto the next stage, which is insulation and drywall. That usually takes 1 day, depending on the type of insulation. If you're spray foam, you may want to allow more time for spray foam, but here at SR for our bad insulation, that typically takes a day for our average square foot house of around 2,500 to around 4,500 square foot. So now that you've gone through your insulation, let's jump into finishing out the inside and turning your house into your home. So jumping into interior finishes, it all depends on how your schedule lines up and how you ordered your materials accordingly. One of the biggest delays, along with the underground power and gas that I spoke about earlier, is going to be your cabinets, depending on the manufacturer you're using. Here at SR Homes, we use a very high quality cabinet contractor, Kitchen and Bath Design Groups, who typically works on a 8 to 12 week schedule when it comes to getting those cabinets. We actually go ahead and get those drawings approved and production started on those cabinets. That way they do not cause any delays down the road. A big thing to keep in mind as well is measuring of your countertops. As soon as your cabinets get installed, try and get your countertop company out there to template those tops so they can go ahead and get that measured and on order. With that being said, as soon as you finish your sheetrock, you can run your schedule a couple different ways. So when it comes to finishing out, you're going to want to start with the priming of your sheetrock. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow the painters to come in, prime all your walls, your ceilings, get a nice smooth surface for the final paint down the road. After your prime, you're going to want to jump into your trim, tile, and cabinets. Those can be interswapped in the days that you run that schedule, just depending on how your material looks. You can run your flooring like your tile first, or you can run your trim, then your tile. You can do cabinets if they're ready and you want to go ahead and install those. One thing I do like to keep in mind is damages when finishing out the inside of your home. The more you put in earlier on, the longer that product sits in the home, the more likely it is to get damaged. So the longer you can wait to do items like your cabinets, your trim work, things like that, it keeps those products from getting damaged. Once you finish, you're going to want to jump into your next painting stage. What that's going to look like is you're going to want to paint your closets and your ceilings. That typically takes about 1 to 2 days, depending on the size of the home and the size of the crew that the painter sends out. So once your ceilings and closets get painted, you can now work your way into finishing out your MEP trims. Your MEP trims are going to be your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trims. That's going to allow the HVAC company to come in and install their registers on the ceiling. Now that paint is done, they're going to install your units outside, your furnaces, get everything hooked up, and then you can have your electrician out to do your electrical trim where they install all your light fixtures, your outlets, your switches, and such. And then what that allows for is your power to now be connected to your home if you did what we spoke about earlier and ordered that power from your local power company on time. You can now get everything up and running, which is a huge step in the interior finishes process, and you're getting really close to the finish line here. You are now ready to pour your driveway and start your landscaping. That is typically a process you want to have completed before you jump into your flooring. Nobody wants to be dragging in rocks and dirt inside their home. So once you wrap up your hardwoods, you're going to roll into your final finishes. You're going to want to finish your trim out with your quarter round or shoe mold. You're going to want to jump into your appliance install. You can now finish your plumbing trim, so your toilets can be set and things like that. You want to measure for your shower glass, your door hardware, your shelving, your cabinet glass if you have that. Those are all items that you're going to want to measure for so they can be ordered on time as well.
Now, as you are approaching your closing date, the builder is going through the process, finalizing all the interior finishes of the home. There's a couple things that you're going to have to come back out and do as the home buyer. Number one, you're going to need to go out and schedule a private home inspection. Here at SR Homes, we request that we have that inspection report back at least 10 days prior to your home orientation. Now, what is the orientation? This is the process where you're going to go out, you're going to meet with your builder, and they're going to walk you through all the functionalities in your home, where your water shutoffs are, where your breakers are, where your irrigation controls are, and all of the nuances and intricacies that are specific to your home, to your floor plan, so that you know where everything is when you close on that home. After that, you're going to go through and you're going to green and blue tape the entire home. Anywhere that you see any sort of sheetrock or painting deficiencies, you're going to go through and have time to point all of those out so that the builder can add those to his final punch-out list, in addition to any of the items that might not have already been taken care of off of that final inspection report.
So now that we have your final inspection report as a builder, our goal is going going to be to go through that inspection report line item by line item and take into account all the different items that we need to have in order to get that home up to your standards as a homeowner, as well as our standards as the builder that we put on ourselves. So once we go through that inspection report and find all those punch items and schedule those accordingly, our goal is to have as much of those done before your homeowner orientation. That way, coming into your orientation, you are not so focused on the punch items and the cosmetic items as you are about learning about your home. That's a little different take on orientation that we have here at SR than a lot of builders. While walking your home and learning about your functionality items, we're also going to point out any deficiencies that you see in your product that you are not happy with or that the builder is not happy with. We will actually call those deficiencies out ourselves, as that is your only time to create a punch list prior to your closing. You want to catch as many items as possible. So now that you've done your orientation and we are jumping into the punch out process, we request that your orientation is done 2 weeks prior to your closing date. So that gives us a full 2 weeks to knock those repairs out and then do a final QC sheetrock and paint touch up. That way, the day of your closing, when you come in to do your final walk, your home is 100% up to your standards as well as the builder's standards. So your final walk is going to be the morning of your closing. That's going to be typically an hour to 2 hours before your closing, where you're going to review that orientation punch list with the builder and actually sign off that all those items were completed up to your standards. Now the process after that, if say there's a broken window that took some time to order and that item is not in yet, you do have a survival list that will survive your closing that you as the homeowner and the builder will initial but not sign off on until that item is complete. So that's how your punch out and orientation process is going to look as you close out your new build. So all in, now that you've completed your build process, if you're looking at a slab, you're looking at around 150 days throughout this whole process. That is from the actual day you start grading. That does not include your design period or your contract period, so keep that in mind. Same thing with a basement, you're looking at around 180 to 189 to 90 days on your build time for a basement house. Same thing, that is from the day you start digging your basement to your finished date of getting your CO. So I hope this was kind of helpful to walk you through that process. It can be a little overwhelming, so knowing how long to allow for those different stages can be a huge help when going into this.
And even if you're not looking to buy an SR home, you just have some questions about the construction process that you're going through, or you're thinking about building your own home, just click the link right down below to our website. We have a chat feature on there. You can send us your questions and Tyler or I would be happy to get any questions back to you and be a service to you. So thank y'all for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. I'm going to be putting out a video like this every single week. So hope to see you guys soon.